Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Randy Beck, and I would like to thank you for joining us for these videos on dementia. Now, this video was originally recorded for the Insane Gratitude Forever Foundation, which is a foundation that I have become associated with, and the goals of the foundation, Insane Gratitude Foundation, is to empower individuals, families, and caregivers with the knowledge and tools needed to understand, prevent, and maintain and manage dementia. Now, all of the stuff that we have on all the courses and everything that we have on the website are free. So we have courses, we have educational videos, podcast interviews with experts, and I would really recommend that you come and join us for the podcast. So the Insane Gratitude podcast, we have a lot of fun, but we also present a lot of meaningful information that you may not be able to find anywhere else. So hopefully you join us. I'll put the link in the comments below. So all you have to do after the video, if you want to join us, go click on the link, come over to the insanegratitude.com website, and check it out. See if our podcasts are up yet. We're going to be posting those podcasts over the next few weeks or so. Okay, well, without further ado, we'll get to the video, and hopefully this helps you understand dementia a little better. Okay, bye for now. See you on the insanegratitude.com website. Join us for the podcast. It's going to be very entertaining, I think. Scary thing to be involved in, and that's why I would like you to go also view the podcast on this, because we're going to talk about this in a lot more detail in the podcast. But and what you can do is go to the comments section below this video, and you'll see the link to the podcast. Okay, so you'll be able to link up to the podcast. But first of all, it's a very scary thing, and we understand that, and that's one of the other purposes of this company, is to bring information together that's reliable and that you can count on, and that is sort of easy to find and easily explained. Okay, so please take advantage of this as we go through the different little areas that we're going to talk about dementia, because we're going to break it down, because it is a huge area to cover, as you'll find out if you start to go through and research things. So what we want to try and do is get some funds raised for research, get some funds raised for helping people fund treatment, that and as a source of information for you. Because really, when you're afraid about something, or when you're frightened, or you're in a state that is, you're starting to panic, really the best thing is to get good information. So that's what we're going to try and provide here. Good information, good discussion, try to answer your questions if you have any, so you can get back to us with that. So I'll move on now. So what is actually dementia? So dementia is basically the loss of cognitive function. So you start to lose the ability to think, you start to lose the ability to remember, you start to lose the ability to reason. But you have to remember that in order to be a true dementia, it has to be to such an extent, you lose those abilities to such an extent that it interferes with your activities of daily life. So in other words, it starts to have an effect on your life that is a major impact on your life. Okay, so what other things will change with dementia? Because it's not just about memory like people think. It's also including things like, it is including memory, but it will also include things like language skills, visual perception. So sometimes what you're perceiving as reality isn't actually true. Problem solving, so you stop being able to solve the problems like you used to. Self-management, so you start losing the ability to manage things in your life in an efficient way. Ability to focus may also be affected, so you start losing focus quickly. Things will distract you. And your ability to pay attention to things, obviously, is also related to focus. Now, some people with dementia will also start having problems controlling their emotions, which is also something that is greatly impacting the people around them and greatly impacting, their lives. So, and sometimes even their personalities may change, which is also something that is very disturbing to people around them and to them. So personality changes that are affecting your daily life. So the personality changes are bad enough that they start to affect your daily life. Now, why do I keep saying? Because dementia is about degree. Okay, so memory loss, it's about the degree of memory loss. Personality change, it's about the degree of personality change. So we have stages now. So we've put different stages in about dementia. But I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, these stages don't really help that much when it's actually happening to you or someone in your family. Just because no cognitive decline, very mild cognitive decline, so what's the difference between very mild cognitive decline and mild cognitive decline? So these are the things we're going to talk about in the podcast in a lot more detail. So I'm really hoping you'll join us for that podcast. Go to the comments below when you finish this little presentation, and you'll have the link there. You can go to the podcast, and we'll talk about all this stuff much more detail. Okay, now, so basically dementia will, like I said, it's about stages, or it's about the degree of decline. So the severity will change as we move through the different stages. So basically, when dementia first starts, it's going to affect a person's functioning. Now, in the most severe stage of dementia, people may not be able to even take care of themselves. They have to rely totally on someone else to take care of them. So that's the sort of range or the spectrum of dementia. Very mild cognitive decline where, it's maybe even a bit normal, to, severe dysfunction where you can't take care of yourself. Now, interesting, age is the primary risk factor for developing dementia. Age. So the older we get, the more likely we are to develop true dementia. Now, we also have to talk about age-related cognitive decline, because age-related cognitive decline is not the same as dementia. Age-related cognitive decline is sort of a normal process of aging. So basically, certain areas of thinking, memory, information processing slow with age, but intelligence remains unchanged. So the ability to do a lot of the stuff that we do in our lives, yes, we forget maybe where we put the keys occasionally. We forget what time it is. We forget, a meeting, that kind of thing. So occasional lapses of forgetfulness are normal in elderly adults. That's not dementia. But now we get to that situation where we have to just determine, is mild cognitive decline the beginning of dementia, or is this just normal aging for me or for my mom or my dad or my family member? So basically, as many as half of all people age 85 or older may have some form of dementia, but it's not an inevitable thing that's going to happen to you. So many people live well into their 90s and beyond without any signs of dementia, other than mild cognitive decline. So again, we have to really start to think about what's the difference between mild cognitive decline and dementia. And the difference clearly is the degree of loss that we suffer. So basically, signs and symptoms of dementia will result once healthy neurons, which are the nerve cells inside your brain, once they stop working or they start losing connections with each other. So the neurons are connected to each other by things called synapses, which are special connective areas in the neuron that don't really touch, but they allow neurotransmitters to cross. And all the communication happens very quickly. And there's major networks involved in the brain, networks of millions of neurons. And when these start either stop working or they start losing those connections that they form, with other brain cells. And sometimes if they lose too many connections, brain cells will actually start to die, or they'll at least go into hibernation where they're not working like they should. And so the hope is if we catch those neurons when they're only in hibernation, we can do some treatments that'll bring them back and we won't lose them. Because this picture that I found here is actually a very good sort of picture that you can generate inside your brain to show what actually is happening inside the brain. So you see the leaves on the heads. So this is a normal sort of brain with the normal number of neurons. As we start losing the connections and we start losing neurons, we get a little bit of balding in here. And then as we start getting worse and worse, this is when dementia starts to actually present itself as true dementia. When we start getting to the point where there's just not enough neurons to actually do the job that has to happen. So they start experiencing greater and greater loss. So this is a really good sort of visual for you to think about what's happening inside someone's brain who has dementia. So let's talk now about mild cognitive impairment again. So it's the stage between normal cognitive changes that may occur with age and more serious symptoms of dementia. And I've got a graph later on which will demonstrate this quite clearly. So stay with us here and I'll take you through the graph. So basically we have with mild cognitive impairment, we have some memory challenges. We start maybe having some difficulties finding the words we want as fast as we want them. So it looks like we're having some language hesitation, language difficulties. We're maybe using words in the wrong way, and we start getting a little bit of clouded judgment. Our decision making maybe isn't as clear as it was before. We start having spatial visual issues, so we start not understanding how far things are away from us, or we bump into things, we knock things over, that kind of stuff. And then also this personality or mood changes that may happen. So maybe we're a little more moody, we get angry a little bit quicker than we did before. We may actually even go the other way and we're more happy about stuff that maybe we shouldn't be happy about. So it's not appropriate emotional response basically for what's happening to us. So these are all signs of mild cognitive impairment. Now, so again, mild cognitive impairment can include problems like thinking, judgment, memory, language, but the loss doesn't significantly interfere with our ability to handle everyday activities. So yes, like I said before, we forget the keys occasionally, we forget, meetings, we forget, birthdays, that kind of stuff, but it doesn't sort of affect us in a way where our life is, massively affected or we stop functioning in life. So also, as we've touched on before, this mild cognitive decline can also include difficulties with planning, organization, trouble finding words, frequency losing misplaced things, forgetting somebody's names. We forget conversations we've had or the details of conversations, and maybe even some events that we've been to that we don't remember correctly or remember differently than they were, that kind of thing. Now, the important thing here to remember is that mild cognitive decline does not always progress to dementia. This is the scary part, is that we don't really know whether mild cognitive decline is the beginning of dementia or is it just normal aging process. Again, go back to the podcast. We're going to discuss this stuff in detail, hopefully give you some more insights to help you decide whether someone or yourself is in that process, and is it going to continue or is it just a normal thing that you're going through. Okay, so what are the things that we can maybe do to help prevent this cognitive decline? Well, some of the things that have been shown to help are things like physical activity, so aerobic exercise, resistance exercise, so weight training, stretching exercises, cognitive intervention, so we can do like testing our brain with quizzing us on, we read a story and then someone quizzes us on what we just read. You can use a memory diary to help sort of remember stuff so that you're not forgetting things. Now, this isn't really stopping the process, but it's helping you develop strategies to deal with it. So you can also do brain challenging games. Okay. And then there's also dietary intervention. There's many, many dietary things. And again, we're going to talk about that in a separate podcast because this is just too vast of an area to get into in a little presentation like we're doing now. What we're trying to do is limit our videos to about 10, 15, 20 minutes, that type of thing. So you can watch it and then you can go away and then you can say, oh, I think I want to watch that again because I think they said something in there that I didn't really understand, or I want to hear it again. And it's only going to take, 10, 15 minutes of your time. But the podcasts will be longer and in more in-depth discussion. So you can go watch them as many times as you want to, or just certain parts of them. But we recommend with these videos, you watch them, just let it flow over you, get an understanding for what we're talking about, and then come back and watch it again if you have to. So the next thing I'm going to just get into very, very quickly here is the difference between primary, secondary, and reversible classifications of dementia. Because primary dementias are basically caused by neurodegenerative diseases where dementia is the primary symptom or the primary illness. So, and these are things like Alzheimer's disease, frontal temporal dementia, frontal temporal lobar degeneration. So these are specific diagnoses that someone, if you've been to a medical practitioner or someone has diagnosed these things, and someone in your family or you, these are primary dementias. So these are things that are pretty much going to result in pretty much going to result in dementia. So Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. Frontal temporal dementia is obviously a form of dementia. Frontal temporal lobar degeneration is a process which will lead to dementia. Then we have, so those are primary dementias. Then we have secondary dementias. These are caused by other health conditions, but can also result in the acceleration or the comorbidity, which means it happens at the same time, of dementia. So these are things like multiple sclerosis, meningitis, can also lead to dementia in some cases. Then we have the reversible dementias that basically these are caused by other things that if we reverse those other things, sometimes the dementia will reverse too. So these are things like normal pressure hydrocephalus. That's one example. And we'll talk about other stuff. We're going to, as we go through these lectures, we're going to go into specific, types of dementia and talk about them in more detail. So this is kind of it for today because I think I'm out of time. But please go to the comments below, get the link to the podcast, join us in the podcast, and give us comments below if you have any questions or any areas you want to see covered. And I'm, again, Dr. Randy Beck. I'm at the Institute of Functional Neuroscience, but this whole lecture is brought to you by the Insane Gratitude Forever company, which is the company that is trying to raise funds to fund, further dementia research, to fund people who maybe can't afford the treatments of dementia or other aspects of their life. So we're trying to help also bring all the information that is truthful and documented and in an easy to find way, so that you can come here, you can come to the website, which is also going to be down in the comments below. We'll put the website, we'll put the link to the podcast, all that stuff. So thanks for joining me, and hopefully this was useful for you. And in the future, come back and see us again. You're welcome to come back. You're welcome to leave comments. And in fact, this whole thing is for you, okay? It's for you to have a place to go that you can find information, or you can discuss things, or you can ask questions. And we're going to really, really try to keep up with all that stuff so that, you get timely responses and you can get your information in a reliable, trustworthy source. Okay, so we'll see you next time. We'll see you next time in the Insane Gratitude Forever podcast, Saying Gratitude Forever website, Saying Gratitude Forever video series. Okay, bye for now. I'm Dr. Andy Beck, and welcome and thank you for joining us.